There's a quiet revolution happening in the country. We put our shoulder into it, it's going to happen.
My name is Tim Ryan, and I'm running for President of the United States.
You serious?
But not to give away the Second Amendment, I don't think that's appropriate. But on the issue of gun violence, why do we have violence in our inner cities? It's economics. It's economics. It's economic.
It's economics.
It's poverty issues. This economic message should drive everything we talk about as Democrats.
So we've got to ban these assault weapons. This is ridiculous, and I got to be frank here. That the environment that we've created in the United States, that the president has created in the United States, honestly, for a guy to drive 10 hours to go kill Mexicans, like what happened in El Paso, is sickening. And I think that the environment around anti-immigration, the race issues that are so polarizing today, that the president throws gasoline on, it's got to stop, Maria. We got to bring this country together.
It's economics.
He's talking to some crazy guy who's going to drive 10 hours to shoot Mexicans. I mean, what the hell are we talking about here? This is insane.
It's economics. It's poverty issues. This economic message should drive everything we talk about as Democrats. Poverty, middle-class wages, gun violence, things that happen in rural America. These are economic issues that the Democratic Party has lost its way, and if we want these Trump voters to come back, we need to start talking about these bread and butter fundamental issues that make us Democrats.
The president has said many times he's not against immigration, he's against illegal immigration. Are you saying that it's the same thing, whether it's illegal or legal immigration?
This guy was going to kill Mexicans because of the environment that this president has created in this country. And the president's not always talking to people who are stable. He's talking to people who get guns and drive 10 hours and go shoot Mexicans.
So there you have it. A radical, unhinged, obvious left-wing kook is a total mental patient, and I don't mean to offend mental patients.
Now, many of your colleagues, and maybe you and I haven't tracked what you said today, Congressman, have blamed the president and his tone. But as I think you know, over multiple administrations with various party loyalties and approaches, these shootings have continued. And I'm wondering if that is a constructive idea to all but say it's the president inciting this type of behavior. Do you think that's fair?
I believe that the president is most certainly creating an environment here where people like this kid in El Paso drive 10 hours to go kill, quote unquote, kill Mexicans, kill people of color. And when you look at what the president has done, Neil, around Charlottesville, saying both good people on both sides.
The media reported that President Trump described neo-Nazis as very fine people. Only he didn't.
But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But
around Charlottesville, saying both good people on both sides.
And Tim Ryan says he has changed his position on abortion after talking to women. He writes, "These women gave me a better understanding of how complex and difficult certain situations can become, and while there are people of good conscience on both sides of this argument,
Saying both good people on both sides.
One thing has become abundantly clear to me: the heavy hand of government must not make this decision for women and families."
You know, saying go back to your country, people cheering at the rally, send her back.
they're free to leave if they want. And if they want to leave, that's fine. And if they want to stay, that's fine. But the people have to know. And politicians can't be afraid to take them on. And the Democrats in this case, if they want to gear their wagons around these four people, I think they're going to have a very tough election, because I don't think the people of the United States will stand for it.
Mr. President.
race baiting on multiple occasions, that is creating an environment where maybe not the average person is going to do something stupid, but the lowest common denominator most certainly is,
but
and that's the kind of kid that gets in a truck.
When we had this guy who attacked.
Under Obama, Sandy Hook occurred, Pulse nightclub occurred, Fort Hood occurred. Was Obama responsible for any of that? Why not? If Trump is to blame, why isn't Obama to blame? All the murders taking place in Chicago, why isn't the Democrat mayor to blame? And if Trump is to blame and his rhetoric is to blame, then why all the talk about gun control?
Republicans on a baseball field. Capital was a big loyalist to Bernie Sanders, loved Bernie Sanders. That would be like blaming Bernie Sanders for that attack. Is that fair?
Bernie Sanders is not creating an environment of intolerance.
Bullshit.
He's not othering people. He's not dismissing people because of the color of their skin.
When you're white, you don't know what it's like to be living in a ghetto.
He's not dismissing people because of the color of their skin.
When you're white, you don't know. You don't know what it's like to be poor. You don't know what it's like to be hassled when you walk down the street.
And you being intolerant of almost anything he says or does kind of fits the same bill, doesn't it?
Neil, come on. Like, let's be honest here. You hear the president, you know what he says. He race baits.
When you're white, you don't know.
He should be mistaken
gets a gun and
for
shoots
you,
people.
I hear where you're coming from, but, sir, the fact of the matter is even Nancy Pelosi says he used racist words. She doesn't think he's a racist.
I don't think there's any question he is, and I don't say that lightly. I'm not proud of it. His behavior, going back to the issues in
you're blaming
New York
his language
with the
on
Central
these
Park,
shootings. That's going.
Kevin Richardson had a scratch on his face. He then admitted that the female jogger scratched his face.
I am saying he has created an environment in the United States that is absolutely toxic.
So what was the environment under Barack Obama when we had shootings? What was the environment under Bill Clinton when we had Columbine? What was the environment under both President Bushes when we had shootings? I mean, you pick and choose, I guess, your enemies, but you don't like Donald Trump.
No,
right?
I'm not picking and choosing, Neil. I'm not picking and choosing.
Bullshit.
Because President Obama and or George Bush or anyone else was not creating an environment around the color of people's skin.
Trayvon Martin could have been me.
President Obama
else was not creating an environment around the color of people's skin.
There are very few African-American men in this country who haven't had the experience of being followed when they were shopping in a department store.
That's what I'm talking about. And President Trump, when you look at his tweets, it's always Maxine Waters, or it's LeBron James, or it's some other black person or person of color.
Donald Trump's attacks on John McCain began long before he became president.
I mean, first of all, this guy's a joke artist, and this guy's a liar. You have a combination.
This guy always goes.
You have a combination of factors.
It's always Maxine Waters, or it's LeBron James, or it's some other black person.
Trump wrote on Twitter yesterday that actress Bette Midler was forced to apologize for falsely attributing a statement to him.
I heard poorly rated Morning Joe speaks badly of me. Don't watch anymore. Then how come low IQ crazy Mika, along with Psycho Joe, came to Mar-a-Lago 3 nights in a row around New Year's Eve and insisted on joining me?
Look, I don't think you can expect someone to be personally attacked day after day, minute by minute, and sit back. Look, the American people elected a fighter.
Sleepy eyes Chuck Todd. He's a sleeping son of a bitch, I'll tell you.
Well, he's not the brightest bulb on the planet. I mean, I've been watching him over the years, and I like his acting. But, you know, in terms of when I watch him doing interviews and various other things, we're not dealing with Albert Einstein.
It's LeBron James, or it's some other black person.
He's called SNL unwatchable. Trump even took to task the new star of his old show, mocking Arnold's ratings the first week on The Apprentice.
Including a tweet storm from President Trump. I want to focus in on 2 of the president's tweets because they're the most serious.
Some other black person or person of color.
You're saying he provided the atmosphere for these shootings. No. You're saying his language provided the opportunity for these shootings. And I'm just thinking that you might be making a leap here that isn't fair or accurate.
Well, you're seeing an uptick in crimes around white nationalism, Neil. Let's have this honest discussion in the United States so we can fix the problem.
I've seen school shootings. Tragically, I've seen shootings in New Zealand and in Australia. You're right, far more in this country. But the fact of the matter is, for many of you and your colleagues to jump and cite the president, I'm no apologist for the president, as regular viewers of this show could attest. But come on, that might be a leap too far. For you, too.
Neil, I'm not taking a leap. I'm telling it like it is. I'm telling you exactly how I see it.
Bullshit.
And I'm sorry it's the case, and I'm sorry it may cut against somebody's political beliefs, and they may agree with Trump's political philosophy, which is fine. If there is one, it's fine. I'm talking about him creating an environment of intolerance in the United States. Instead of out of many one, he divides us. And you know it, and everybody else who pays a little bit of attention understands that this is his M.O. This is what he does. And it, like I said, it's not everybody who goes to his rallies or everybody.
You can see.
But you're talking about politics.
You are talking about
you're
politics.
Talking about politics, Neil.
I don't have any interest in politics.
I am not talking about politics. I'm not. There are school shootings. You can't blame school shootings on somebody that they're happening out there.
You just blame them on the President of the United States, Congressman. You just blame the President of the United States.
I was talking about President. I was talking about President Obama and others.
Sir, I wish you had more time. I just think you've gone one step too far.
Neil,
enough with
this
the
guy
politics,
got in a car and drove 10 hours to slaughter people.
We'll have more after this.
It's about tolerance.
Talk to your neighbors. I want you to talk to them whether they're independent or whether they are Republican. I want you to argue with them and get in their face. We got to have middle-class families up in front. We don't mind the Republicans joining us. They can come for the ride, but they got to sit in back. I'll put Mr. Burgess up against Sean Hannity. He'll tear him up. You got their plan, which is let's have dirtier air, dirtier water, less people with health insurance. You don't negotiate by putting a gun to the other person's head. Or worse yet, by putting a gun to the American people's head by threatening a shutdown.